Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the best and worst of 2024, but we're also going to be giving you some predictions for 2025. Jack, welcome back from the Mostly Wrestling podcast. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Always a pleasure to be here. Got some bold predictions on deck. Not as bold as the one I gave in that last video, if y'all didn't check that out, but some bold ones alas.
And we got our best and worst of 2024, man. It had, like I said in the previous video, it had the highs and it had its lows, man. 2024 in the world of professional wrestling gave you everything you could have asked for. And we will be talking about that today because we'll be giving you our top 3 moments that we enjoyed and our top 3 that we absolutely do not want to see ever again. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. Jack, what were your top 3 worst moments of 2024?
Okay. I didn't rank these. Just want people to be clear. These are my 3 worst moments. First up, we got AEW airing that CM Punk Jack Perry footage. Man, you know I'm a CM Punk guy, but even when I try to put bias aside, something just didn't feel right about it. You know, I don't know. I just kind of like, I don't know if it did them any good. I think it might have done CM Punk some favors because he went on that podcast, told that story, and they showed footage that basically was like, yeah,
that's what happened.
Is what happened. It wasn't really much of a gotcha. It helped out Jack Perry, I think, for a bit. I don't find him that interesting anymore. There was a moment where I was kind of bought into the scapegoat stuff. But I think that was definitely a low light of the year. Just going to that, like, no, I don't even want to say like that level because wrestling companies are allowed to. I think it's fun when they take shots and go back and forth. But a lot of people have compared it. I wasn't alive, so I don't want to act like I know, but I know the history. A lot of people compared it to like WCW levels of like I think it was Tony Schiavone back then, like saying like, "Oh, Mankind's gonna win the title."
Yeah,
it helped WWE more, I think. So it's not good for AEW.
No, 100, bro. I have to agree with you. That was in my top 3 too. Airing the CM Punk footage, brawl in with Jack Perry. It's just ever since that point, it's like it seems like that was their focus, and the product from that point just never recovered. Like it hindered them in more ways than one. Their attendance went down. The ratings went down. And, you know, you can always argue, well, ratings and attendance isn't as important in 2024 that it was 20 years ago. But at the same level, you can also argue that, well, they are a good way of indicating how popular and how, you know, interesting your product is currently at the moment. And in the early parts of 2024, right when they aired that footage, right around WrestleMania season, it was not good. And it took them a while to recover. And I feel like now AEW is finally getting back on track. But man, coming out of that was not good at all.
And I don't subscribe to the like AEW is going to die in a year thing. I actually think they're going to have a good 2025 based off the returns we got at World's End, just getting some of your major players back. Hopefully wrapping up this Death Riders thing. It's also a little bit of a like not even confusing, just kind of like but getting your major players back in.
Right.
We're gonna move over though. I don't want to shit on AEW for all of them. So I have a WWE moment that I think, you know, I didn't actually write out what the moment was. I put a quote in here. It's words that I know I see it on the internet. WWE fans still sends a shiver down their spine. For my next worst moment, I went with, but not at WrestleMania.
Oh,
and on SmackDown. Cody Rhodes relinquished his Royal Rumble winning opportunity at Roman Reigns' title and handed it to The Rock and shook his hand. One of the funnier nights of the year on the internet, but man, kind of a bad time. You know, it wasn't what people wanted. Granted, shout out to WWE, The Rock, Seth, Cody, Roman, all the players involved for making that work and making Mania as special as it was this year. But in that moment, I don't know, man. It felt like dark times were ahead.
No, bro, you are 100 spot on. Like that moment had people crashing out like no other. Like Pete is like, bro, that moment Pete crashed out like no other. It made him come back to the Mostly Wrestling podcast after like months of not being on there. He came back to have to voice his frustration with that moment. That's how bad it was. And honestly, it would have been up there for me. But the fact that they course corrected and went with the route that they did prevented me from fully putting it on there because they saved themselves. They saved themselves, and so they're not on my worst. But my number 2, right after the CM Punk airing AEW airing the CM Punk Jack Perry brawl in footage, for me, was also a WrestleMania-ish. Well, it was WrestleMania, but it was a WrestleMania match. I went with Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso as my second worst moment of 2024. And I know there were plenty of other worst matches that you could find on WWE TV and probably even AEW TV, looking at you, Daddy Ass and Jay White. But the thing is the hype that this match had, the value, you know, both members coming out of the Bloodline story, Jay looking to do it on his own. It's just me, Uso. Jimmy is still under Roman's like wing, doesn't want his younger brother to surpass him individually, but it just never lived up to it, man. 16 super kicks. 16 super kicks.
Only? I thought there were more.
And I think it was you that said it, man. That's like a match that you have to watch in 2 times speed, because if not, it's just, you can't. You just can't. And so that was my second worst moment of 2024. But Jack, round it off here. What was your last and your worst moment of 2024?
I agree. I thought of doing Jimmy and Jay, and then I kind of had a feeling you would put it, and I wanted to have some difference. So I put another match, and you actually alluded to it. So it might be interesting. I put Jay White and Daddy S, man. It was one of those moments where you look at like the year AEW had, and it was kind of like a "what are we doing here" type deal. Jay White was like supposed to be, and still could be, like a major player there. They've gotten him back in the world title mix recently and whatnot. But like, I don't know. I just feel like that match kind of sums up a little bit like what AEW was this year to me. Just a little like, what are we doing half the time? I mean, I went to All Out, fantastic show. You were there as well. They still deliver great matches. They're still some of the best wrestlers in the world. Just overall storyline, like in terms of what are we doing, what are we booking, it's a perfect example of kind of the year they have. So that's why I put it on here.
No, dude, I almost had it on there too, and it was like, oh, it's just frustrating because it's like Jay White is this guy who shouldn't have to struggle against a 60-something-year-old man in Daddy Ass, and it's, to me, it's like, is it a case of Hoganitis? Like, I'm not gonna like look weak to this guy.
There's no shot Daddy S has that kind of pull, right?
You would think, but I've noticed in AEW they have a lot more freedom to really just do more like individually than in, let's say, in WWE. And it wouldn't surprise me if Daddy S was like, you know what? Well, I'm established. I'm this old badass who has value to his name, and you know what? People are either gonna struggle with me, they're going to lose to me, or they're going to run away from me. Because why was Kazuchika Okada running away from Daddy Ass at Forbidden Door? Like, why are we booking Daddy Ass to be fucking Roman Reigns, bro? Why? Like, there's no need. And so I don't blame you for putting that on your worst list, bro, because that frustrated me. That frustrated many people. But closing out the worst moments of 2024, or the worst things of 2024, for me, it was one thing in its entirety, because it never got better. And that's the booking of the women's division in WWE and AEW. Man, I don't even know where to get started. For WWE, Rhea Ripley has this chokehold on the Triple H and the women's division that it's unfortunately hinders that division so much that we can't even get like stories out of it no more. The only story that we got is Rhea versus Liv, and that's been the same story that we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months ago. And that's not saying that Rhea Ripley's bad. That's not saying Liv Morgan's bad. It's just the booking of this has not gotten any better. It's gotten to the point where everybody's just begging for this to please end. It's not good. And over on SmackDown, what did we get with Bayley's championship reign? What memorable came out of it? Nothing. Nia Jax's championship reign. It was unexpected. And what have we got out of that? The whole thing has been, will she, won't she, with Tiffany Stratton cashing in. That's it.
People are waiting for, you know.
And that's gotten to the point now where like, oh, another week. Will she, won't she? It's going to be a pay-per-view. And if Nia's on it, you're going to guarantee where you're going to get that moment. Will she, won't she? It's like this kind of thing is just run its course, and they do it over and over again. It doesn't get any better. And let me not even get into the women's tag team championships that WWE has. They don't know what to do with them. They don't know how to book them. And I can't even just shit on WWE and not go over to AEW because for a good moment in time, Mariah May's AEW championship reign, it's nothing. They propped her up to be this superstar, and they gave her this beautiful story with Tony and the moment where she turned on her and she really catapulted herself to the main event scene and put her name up there like the headliners of the women's division. And ever since All In, what has Mariah May done with that title? A couple of nothing matches with like Yuka. She just had a match with Thunder Rosa, but what got out of that? What came out of that? Like nothing. The Anna Jay matches were just to showcase Anna more than your actual AEW Women's World Championship. And so I just have not been liking the way American companies have been booking the women's division, man. And so that's my worst part of 2024. But we're not going to be all sad, mad, gloomy, all that. You know, we got to move over. We got to put some smiles on it. So we're going over to the best 3 things of 2024 for us here. So, Jack, go ahead, take it away with your first moment.
Oh, yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't rank these, but like this one is a number 1 to me. It's moment of the year. It's the feel-good story. It's everything coming together the way you want it to. It's Cody Rhodes finishing the story, right? Winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania after going through the year before and all the stuff with The Rock and the Night 1 main event. It was just beautiful, beautiful. Like, even the finish of that match, too. The last 5 minutes of WrestleMania 40. Yeah, we know. It's, but it's one of the best, just like, we talked about it before, like the most satisfying finishes WWE's done to something in a very, very, very long time. Maybe even since Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, right? 10 years before that. So Cody Rhodes finishing the story, absolutely number 1. The best.
I agree with you. And that's part of my number 1. My number 1 moment of 2024 is storybook endings. Part of it being Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and part of it being Bryan Danielson at All In. Those moments, to me, those are the feel-good moments of wrestling that you just love to see. And those are like the perfect moments to end your biggest show of the year. Because you know that's the show that's going to have the most eyes. Not only your hardcores, but also your casuals. Like, those are the shows that these people who haven't watched wrestling all year are going to tune in for because they know those are the matches with the biggest names or the biggest moments. So why not end them with feel-good, heartwarming moments that, you know, are just going to leave everybody happy? And we got that with Cody and Danielson this year. And so I loved everything about that. And those were my top moments of 2024. What was your second? What was your second best thing of 2024?
Segues into my second. I should have just combined them too, right? I put Bryan Danielson winning the AEW World Title. And it's one of those things where I don't care if he like didn't want to win titles or didn't want this or that. He deserved it. It should have been a thing. Like when he signed with AEW, that's the guy you want to put your belt on. I guess even if it was only for like a month there, right? A month or two. But just seeing him win the title in front of his family, they set it up beautifully with Swerve. He was a perfect villain for it when you're getting the kids involved, the family involved. And great match. I know it finished somewhere in the Mostly's match of the year. I believe it's somewhere in there. And Bryan Danielson's just the guy where if that was his full final year, right, we all have a feeling he'll like be back, but that was his last full-time run, right? And it ended with a title win on the biggest stage, right? Wembley Stadium for AEW, the fireworks, pageantry, all that. So very similar to Cody's, just a good feel-good moment. And that's ultimately kind of what you want out of wrestling sometimes, right?
No, it was a beautiful moment, man. You touched up on it. I touched up on it. Everything that you want to see in professional wrestling. Thank you, Bryan Danielson. What a moment. For me, my second one, going over to WWE, I had the debut or reintroduction of the Wyatt Six. Everything about that presentation, from the moment those lights turned off, because Jey Uso had just got done wrestling and he was in the crowd celebrating. And the moment those lights turned off, he knew something serious was about to go down. And boy, was he not wrong. Because you saw the lights turned off. The fog started creeping up. You saw Nikki Cross crawling closer and closer, points to the back. And man, the characters, we've seen them before with Bray Wyatt and the Firefly Funhouse. The characters came to life. You know, we saw Eric Rowan, who was part of the original Wyatt family with Bray, Brody, and Braun Strowman. And he's back. But also bringing in guys who kind of seemed like they didn't have a way of fitting in with the current product of WWE with Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, you know, guys who were, you can say, a little bit crazy in with their characters, but with this, man, it was just like they fit like a glove, they fit like a shoe. It just was a perfect match. And everything from that, like, I think it was like a 10-minute, I can't remember the time, but man, from the moment it started to the moment they went off the air, it was just breathtaking. And it was a beautiful tribute to Bray and everything he had envisioned and stuff that he was unfortunately not able to finish. But Bo Dallas took over, and man, I've been enjoying everything the Wyatt Six have been doing. And that moment specifically, well, I'll always remember it. And for me, it was definitely one of my top moments of 2024. But last, what was your last best moment of 2024, brother?
Yeah, I'm going out with the final images, one of the closing moments of what a lot of people consider one of the best episodes of Raw of the year, if not the best in years. I was there live, but I had to watch this moment on a Jumbotron because it happened in a parking lot. The Rock beat the ever-living shit out of Cody Rhodes in the rain, in Allstate Arena's parking lot by his tour bus, and just cut one of the craziest, just most like off the cuff, probably off the dome promos. He said the same thing like 20 times and still worked. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Show your mama that, boy. It was just the Rock looking like that was like peak, like just midlife crisis, unhinged Rock that we saw throughout that feud. We hadn't seen a parking lot attack like that in years. There was blood, which is rare for WWE. And I think it really sold everybody, if they weren't already, on the idea of that tag team match and of a future Rock versus Cody match. Because a lot of people want Rock versus Cody now rather than Roman Reigns versus The Rock, which seems like it just gets delayed every year for the past like 5 years. So that really set up the WWE's next, like from that moment on, like a year or so, kind of. You see this happening, and it just, we haven't seen anything like it in a while, and that's because like nobody can deliver like The Rock can. So you see somebody like that come back and just step back in and make it look that easy.
Now, that was a memorable moment, man. Cody being busted open, all the blood, him wiping the blood on the belt, him telling him what he's gonna do. So close to Mania, it just took the build and the match hype to another level, man. And I'm glad you got to experience that live too, because it was a great episode of Monday Night Raw. But for me, I'm going over to AEW for my final moment of 2024 that I enjoyed the most. And that's the Continental Classic in its entirety. Man, people are just locked in when it comes to the C2. They just lock in, banger match after banger match after banger match. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I struggle keeping up with AEW and watching on a consistent basis week to week to week. But when it's Continental Classic season, I'm to the point where I'm making little pools with my friends so we can keep up with this Continental Classic, because that's how much I enjoy it. And the field only gets better and better, and it makes new stars. Last year, it made guys like Swerve, guys like Jay White, it catapulted them to another level, but also guys like Mark Briscoe as well. And this year, Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, even guys like Commander, he snuck a win as well there at the end. But who knows where this is going to take people heading into 2025. But I just enjoy the Continental Classic. The matches always are awesome. People lock in. And that was ultimately one of my favorite moments of 2024. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the 2025 predictions. We will be giving 5 each. 5 from Jack, 5 from myself. The only criteria was think outside the box, then don't be so obvious. So don't pick something that's going to, for sure going to happen. Try to think outside the box. I tried my best to do that while also keeping it realistic. So I hope, Jack, something you came up with was interesting. So give me your first one right here. What is your first prediction of 2025?
I don't got any like, oh, this person wins a title. John Cena does this, right? Well, I do have one with John Cena, but it's not like wins his 17th. For the first one here that I'm going to list here, it's a little outside the box. We're not seeing it currently, but I think the story's going to get there at some point. Jacob Fatu is going to have the Ulafala. Whether that's at order of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, whether he beats somebody for it, I think we're getting that. They've been doing the slow burn with him, but he's the star, the new bloodline. Jacob Fatu is going to wear that Ulafala in 2025.
That's an interesting one, bro. The Samoan werewolf getting the Ulafala. Oh, okay. How can I follow that up? Well, I got an interesting one here. I got an interesting one that I think is definitely going to happen. If you watched the previous video, you've heard my prediction. You know what's going to happen. In 2025, AEW will give us the first AEW pay-per-view main event featuring two women of Mercedes Moné and Athena for All In Texas. I talked about it a little bit on the previous video with our early end of year predictions of 2025. I just think Athena's in for big things in 2025 on actual AEW TV, no longer hindered to just ROH. And Mercedes Moné is going to get out of that mid-card title scene and get her rightful place at the top of the mountain for the AEW Women's Division. So that's what my prediction. I think we get the first AEW Women's main event at All In Texas.
I like that. When we talked about that too, that'd be a banger match. Tony Khan's got to start reaching higher, right? AEW Women just got their first ever 20-minute match 5 years into the company. So let's take bigger jumps next year. I like that a lot. I'll head over to AEW for my next one too. I got Adam Copeland and Christian. They're in one of the better feuds of the previous year. It's hot. It's bloody. They don't like each other right now. We saw Christian's face at World's End, but I think they reunite.
Ooh, tag team.
I think I can see Copeland going evil before I can see Christian being a good guy at this point. Those guys are going to reunite. Copeland's going to see the vision, and we're going to see whether it's a tag team or just two guys that help each other out. We're going to see Edge and Christian back again.
I like that. E and C back together. Okay. So my next one, I kind of thought, I was thinking outside the box, and I was thinking, you know what? WWE is going to Netflix. Netflix has a lot of different shows that people watch. And what better way to promote your product by getting some of your biggest stars on some of these shows that Netflix produces?
Squid Game?
And so I think in 2025, a WWE superstar will appear in either Squid Game Season 3 or any other major show on Netflix as part of the WWE and Netflix deal. That's what I'm going with.
I like that too. You think of how WWE used to try to have to make their own movie studio, right? They put these guys in these straight to DVD. I remember sitting at Pete's house watching The Chaperone starring Paul Triple H Levesque. Great movie. Should have been up for an Oscar. But yeah, no, now they have, it's a new world. They're on streaming and stuff. You can do these partnerships. You can even go bigger. You can say that a wrestler might get their own show, right? Like when The Miz finally wants to hang up the boots from working so hard full time, we get like a Miz, and not like Miz and Mrs., right? The Miz can have a series where he's acting as the Miz. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but there's a lot of things you can do with Netflix. I like that a lot. I'll jump back over to WWE here. When we kind of alluded to this, you did actually in our last video, but I'm going with it. I know it doesn't match. It doesn't match my predictions. I said Charlotte was going to win the Rumble, but thinking big here, I do like this, and we've talked about it a lot. NXT wrestler wins the Women's Royal Rumble match. If there was ever a year for it, it's going to be this year, especially if they get Jordan Grace.
And so I like that. Who would you say, if you had to just give a name, is your top choice for that to come true?
If she started out on NXT and counted as an NXT superstar, I'd say Jordan Grace. But because she's not actually there yet, and she may just be in the Rumble, win it, and be a main roster person, I'm going to go with Roxanne Perez right now.
Okay.
Polished,
I like that.
Deserving at this moment, I think.
And like you said, if there's ever a year to do it, man, now is the time. Now is the time. So I like that one a lot. For me, I will be going back over to AEW. I think we're going to be seeing somebody that's going to be working in AEW full time in 2025 that recently just left WWE full time in 2024. And so in 2025, I think we will see Samantha Irvin working full time for All Elite Wrestling in some sort of capacity.
She always said she wanted to be more than just a ring announcer. It wasn't that she hated wrestling or hated WWE. She just wanted more on-screen character, whatever. Who better? Everybody already hates Ricochet. You know those memes where it's like, look at me, I'm Josh Allen. I'm Haley Steinfeld. I'm the MVP. Imagine it being like, oh, fuck you, I'm Ricochet. I'm the AEW. He starts winning, right? Oh, I'm married to Samantha Irvin.
And I got you.
Better way to bring her in and have her be the girlfriend or the wife, I can't remember which, of the obnoxious heel Ricochet with what he's going with here. I like that a lot. I'm going to stick down with an NXT thing here. This is a bolder one. I can see it happening. We got a tour coming up in 2025, retirement tour. Got to hit all the stops. I think John Cena wrestles one night only on NXT television. The
Wow.
way NXT's been ran in the last year is way different than ever before. Cena's already appeared on NXT. We've seen all the big names down there. CM Punk showed up. Undertaker showed up. Why not put on one match, pop a rating on the CW? I say Cena gets in a match on NXT on Tuesday.
Cena versus Ridge Holland in 2025 is going to go absolutely insane, man.
Randy wrestled. Yeah, Randy already did it.
Yeah, no, I would say that might not be as like it might happen because, as you said, it's his retirement tour. He's gonna want to hit all the stops. He's want to get it all out of it. He might even want to win the Intercontinental Championship so he can complete the Grand Slam. But I would not be against John Cena wrestling on NXT TV. So I like that one a lot. So going over for my fourth one here, I think we're going to get a special TNA and NXT Worlds Collide pay-per-view premium live event in 2025. 2024, we saw the partnership reach new heights. Starting off at the early year, Jordynne Grace bringing out the Impact Women's Championship or the TNA Impact Women's Championship to the Royal Rumble. And every time she came out, or every time she was on the screen, they announced that she was the champion. And then she came back to NXT, displaying that championship. And so it got to the point where even we saw some NXT superstars make their way over and compete on TNA TV for a good stretch of time there. So why not have a pay-per-view where you get some of your best from NXT taking on some of your best from TNA? What if we see Obafemi versus Moose? What if we see Ash by Elegance versus Nikita Lyons? What if we see, the Rascals against Hank and Tank? Who knows, man? Who knows? But I think in 2025, we're going to get an NXT and TNA Worlds Collide pay-per-view.
I like that, and that's an everybody wins scenario. For my last one, it's a little more sad. It's a little more somber, And I'm not saying this in like a something bad is going to happen or an injury way. I'm just saying this is in a people grow old, they realize things might be time to hang them up type of way. We saw it with Bryan Danielson this year. I think in 2025, we do get either an announcement of a retirement at some point or an announcement of a retirement from full-time from our beloved Kenny Omega.
Oh,
he seems to be in good health, ready to go for 2025, but that stuff he had was serious, man. He's still awesome and can move, but he is older. He's had a lot of health problems in his time in AEW. I could see him absolutely giving it his all for one full-time run or doing a full-time run and then being like, I'm out. That's my swan song, whatever he feels. I just feel like an announcement at the very least is kind of looming with him, and it'll be sad. But that he's going to give us a good run if that's what ends up happening.
That's one out the box that I would never think of, man. And I'm sorry to say, Jack, but I hope you're wrong, man. But if it comes down to it, where his health needs for him to retire in order for him to be good and live past his wrestling age, by all means, Kenny Omega, prioritize that. But I hope you don't retire, man, because I know you got a lot left to give to the wrestling.
So who knows? Maybe he's got 5 more years full time.
Yeah, right. Hopefully. But let me finish this up here with my last prediction, and I think it's going to be the most unpredictable one. Because in 2025, I don't know if it'll be for a match. I don't know if it'll be for a segment. Maybe a shot in the crowd. But in 2025, Bryan Danielson will appear live on WWE TV in some sort of capacity. Who knows whether it be like a Legends like a night and DB just happens to be there, or they want to bring him back as a general manager or whatever. Who knows? But never say never in wrestling, man. And I think we will see Bryan Danielson on WWE TV in some way, shape, or form in 2025.
It's very bold, and Bryan has had one of the cleanest WWE to AEW exits, I think. I think no bad things were said. WWE gave him a great little finishing run. They knew he wasn't going to re-sign, really, and they gave him the main event of WrestleMania and a proper write-off against Roman Reigns and one of the better TV matches during the pandemic. So it's absolutely in the cards. I don't think DB's got beef with anybody over there.
I don't think so at all, because I don't know if you remember, but when John Cena was celebrating, I think it was the 20th celebration, 20th year or 25 year, whichever it was. But you remember they had like different superstars send in videos, and I believe they reached out to some AEW superstars, and Chris Jericho was able to send one. But one of the people that also sent one was Bryan Danielson, and that just shows me that, you know what? They're on good like terms. They didn't have, like you said, they didn't have a nasty exit. Although Bryan did say he doesn't envision himself going back to WWE, never say never, right? Never say never.
He also said that Cody Rhodes taught him how to lie.
That is true. He did say the only way he would see himself go back to WWE was if the professional wrestling world asked for him to do it. And so who knows, maybe something goes on in WWE or in the world of wrestling where Bryan Danielson just gets the itch. You know what? One last WrestleMania. One last moment. Or maybe just a simple one-off segment appearance. Whatever it may be. But I think we get Bryan Danielson on WWE TV in 2025. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Those were our best 3 moments of 2024. Our worst 3 moments of 2024. But also our predictions for 2025. Go ahead and let us know in the comments what you guys like, if you guys agree with any of us, or if we're crazy as hell for even thinking of some of these things. Go ahead and sound off in the comments. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe, all that jazz. I appreciate you guys. Jack, I appreciate you for taking time, man. Appreciate you, man. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.